Hey, I'm
hmm
hungry. Let's do a show.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and talk about it with sick voices.
Hello.
I apparently there is a chipmunk stuck up in Zach's nose.
That's amazing. I gotta try to do that again later.
Oh.
Oh,
Anyway, I'm Steve, and you can find me at Lord Steve on Twitter.
I'm Zach, and you can find me in bed later.
Yes. Apparently we've all come down with the sniffles, and we took some medicine, but it takes a while.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
you're gonna have to deal with our not as great voices this
Yeah,
time.
you can do the summaries today because I'm just not feeling it.
Okay, so today we watched Symbiosis, The Skin of Evil, and We'll Always Have Paris. In Symbiosis, let's see, they were trying to they're going after a star, right? Yeah, they were studying its magnetic properties or whatever.
Yeah, this star was giving off some funky electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah. So they were studying it, and in the middle of everything, the magnetic radiation started not controlling, but messing up some systems. So they're really not at full power anymore, but they're still there. In the meantime, they get a distress call from the fourth moon in the system. So they go over, check it out, and it's these guys in a freighter called the Sanction that have no idea how to use their ship.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
So they're basically on the technical support call from hell, and
You mean my life?
yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. And during the course of the thing, they find out that the ship needs some new coils or something.
Yeah, there's a coil. Their ship is screwing up because whatever stability, whatever they have, runs off of an electromagnetic coil, which is misaligned, so they need a
Yeah,
new one.
yeah, and I'm sure the sun doesn't help with that.
Right.
And but they don't know how to install it. So one thing leads to another. They try to beam the people onto the Enterprise while their ship explodes. But before they beam over, they make sure that their cargo beams over first, which is weird because you'd think they'd want to save their lives and not their cargo. And when they beam over, they act like the cargo is more important than the two people that they lost on the way over. So, and there's two groups of people. There's the one guys who had the cargo, and then there's the other guys who bought, but they haven't paid for the cargo yet.
Yeah.
So they're trying to decide who the cargo belongs to. It comes out that one of the what do you call it? One of the groups, but there's only two. So
Yeah.
one of the groups of people were dying from a plague, and this cargo is medicine for them. But like I said, they haven't exactly paid for it yet, so they it's not theirs, and the other people aren't allowing them to have it.
Yeah.
So time goes on. The symptoms of the plague get worse and worse. These people are having really difficult times coping, and Beverly's like, "There's something we have to do something to help them. Why not just give them some of their medicine right now, and then we can deal about who what belongs to who later." So reluctantly, the other people agree, and as soon as they take this medicine, it's really like a junkie shooting up.
Yeah.
And And Beverly notices this right away, and she goes to Picard and says, "These guys, this medicine is a narcotic. These guys are drug addicts." So, some more research into the history of these planets. Apparently, the one group is from another planet. This group is from this planet, and they both came down with a plague. These guys were. Hold on. No. Okay, so these guys were technologically advanced,
Yes.
so they had the ships to go back and forth. These guys, they happened to have a cure on their planet.
Right. Because they have a plant that only grows on their planet.
Yes.
That is able to cure this thing.
Yes. So they came up with a system that they would trade this cure for anything they need from the technologically advanced people. So it worked out for them. It was great. And apparently, the plague was eradicated on the planet with the cure, but they kept on selling the cure to the other planet. The plague wouldn't go away there, or so they thought. Beverly comes in and says, "No, the plague isn't there anymore. There is no plague. It's irrelevant."
It hasn't been there for like 200 years.
Apparently, they've been selling it legitimately as a, well, not legitimately, but as a legitimate drug for these 200 years. And they've been using this addiction as a means by which to get all the things that they want or need.
Yeah.
This planet has no other industry except for selling this drug to the other planet.
Yeah. That's how much money they make off of them. Drug cartels, terrible stuff.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
We have to cook, Jesse.
Calm down, Heisenberg.
So now all of that is out in the open now. Well, it's out in the open for Picard and the drug dealers, but the other guys still don't know. And because of the Prime Directive, Picard
Prime
can't tell
Directive.
them. Picard can't tell them because that would be interfering. So he, because the drug dealers agreed to let them have the drugs and pay for it whenever they can, he gives the drugs to the other guys and says, "Okay, you can have it. Now you can move along." And everything seems fine, and the guys are like, and as soon as we get our ships fixed, because you said you could help us, then we'll be right on our way, and we'll be doing business again. And Picard's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to fix your ships. You guys are going to have to learn how to fix your ships on your own. And if your quote-unquote cure is compromised because of that, well,
Too bad.
too bad, because we have the Prime Directive and we can't get involved.
And so Beverly's like, wait a second, so you're going to keep feeding these druggies? He's like, what am I supposed to do? Prime Directive.
No, but here's the thing. They only had two more ships left.
Yeah.
They can't continue trading without those ships.
Right.
The drug is going to wear off. So Picard has effectively cut off their drug source. They're eventually going to get off of. Okay, never mind. They're eventually going to get off this drug,
Yeah.
but they're going to undergo a lot of what do you call it? Not hangover, but
Yeah.
withdrawal.
Withdrawal.
They're
There
going to
you
go through a lot of withdrawal effects, and Beverly was concerned about that because she could make it so that they don't, but that would be interfering.
Yeah.
So eventually they're going to get off of the drugs. Eventually, this other planet is going to have more industry than just selling drugs, and everything will be fine. But we are left at the end of the episode with, was it the right decision?
Right. It's one of those Gene Roddenberry moral sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good though. I like it. And we see the guy from the planet who has the cure. He was the same guy that played Khan's right hand man in Wrath of Khan.
Yes. Yes.
He was the one that died because he was a pussy.
Yes. But yeah, it was a good episode. I liked it.
I thought it was pretty good.
Moving on. The next episode is The Skin of Evil. And this is a pretty well-known episode. So Troy is coming back on her way from a conference, and they're going to meet up with her shuttle. But along the way, the pilot calls back and says there's, some kind of interference, turbulence, whatever. And they're about to fall into a planet. While back on the ship, the engineer just happened to pick that moment in time to realign the dilithium crystals or something.
Yeah. What was his name? What was his middle initial? That asshole.
I don't even know. Whatever.
God, what a jerk.
They go through more engineers,
chief engineers on the ship than I've ever seen. It's ridiculous.
And it's because none of them are any good until you get around to Geordi. But anyway, so they can't get to warp until this guy's finished with the dilithium crystals. Meanwhile, Troy's ship or shuttle falls into this planet. After a while, he's finished with the crystals, so they can go to warp. They find the planet. They find the shuttles on the planet. Beam down. Try to walk over to the shuttle, and they can't because this tar pit is in their way. And not just in their way, but it's moving so that they can't get past it. So they try to figure out what's going on. They scan it. Data says it's not registering. I can't figure out what in the world this thing is. Eventually it says something along the lines of "Good work, Tin Man. You figured out what I am," or something like that.
Yeah. So apparently this giant tar slick thing can talk.
Yeah.
And it's an asshole. And then it turns into it has like this weird amorphous blob form that it like dramatically keeps turning into.
Yeah.
Big fat jerk.
It raises up out of its own pit.
Yeah.
And speaks down to everyone. Basically saying, "Entertain me." But there says, "No, we have to get to the shuttle. Our friends are on there. Please just let us pass and let us help Deanna." But the tar monster is like, "No, I'm not gonna do that. I just want you to entertain me." And Tasha Yar goes up and says, "Screw all this noise. I'm gonna go off anyway." And the tar monster zaps her.
Yep.
And that is the end of Tasha Yar.
Yeah. Moment of silence for Tasha. Okay, we're done.
Obviously, they beam Tasha up as quick as they can. They try to revive her. Nothing works, though. Eventually, Beverly is forced to call it, and she's gone. So they go back down, and they try to okay. They don't go back down right away. First, the tar monster goes over, covers up the shuttle, and talks to Deanna. And Deanna gets a little into his background, how he's all alone, and he was left on this planet by some beings who directed all of their hatred, all of their malice, and all of their evil into this stuff, left it on this planet, and literally just left behind their evil so that they could grow.
Hi, tar monster.
Yeah. Yeah, so there he is, and apparently he's really upset about just being left there. And back on the ship, Worf and Wesley, they're scanning the tar monster, and it turns out that while he's over there talking to Deanna, and actually confronting his feelings, his his force, his energy is actually less at those times than at any other time. So Picard beams down. The Tar Monster tells Picard that I want to get off of this planet. So Picard says, "Okay, I have the means to take you off this planet, but I want to see my officer first." So the Tar Monster lets him see Deanna. Picard gets the information from Deanna that this is what's been making him lose his energy, and so Picard goes back out. And meanwhile, on the ship, Worf is like, "Okay, we're gonna set the computer to automatically beam up Deanna when the energy level is at this point." So Picard talks to the Tar Monster, and he delves into his past and like, aren't you really sad about these people who left, and basically all sorts of hippie feely stuff. And the Tar Monster cries out, "No, this is all so sad. You're not entertaining me at all." And Deanna gets beamed up. Picard says, "We're not taking you anywhere." He gets beamed up. They shoot a photon torpedo at the shuttle and drive away.
Yep.
Then later on, they have a memorial service for Tasha on the holodeck in what appears to be the Windows 98 screen. Or, I'm sorry, Windows XP.
Yeah, they went back
Windows
to the
XP.
They went to the Windows XP Classic desktop theme in the holodeck.
Yes,
For that.
And it's all emotional. And Tasha left behind this holographic message, apparently, and
For everybody.
yeah, addresses everyone that's in the holodeck. And at the end, Data says, "This, I'm not sure if I'm experiencing this correctly. All the thoughts that I'm having in this ceremony are for myself, like, and how empty everything is going to be without her." And yes, he asked Picard, "Am I doing this right?" And Picard is like, "Oh yeah, you're doing it right."
Being human, doing it quite well, actually.
Yep. And that's the end of the episode. What do you think?
I would say I'm sad for Tasha, but I'm really not. I just didn't like her.
You know, the reason that Tasha left, like the reason that Denise Crosby didn't want to do it anymore, is because she felt like she wasn't being given enough to do. And it's because she wasn't given enough to do that you don't really feel as much as you should have for her death.
Yeah.
Like we don't really know her at all. I feel like if she would have gone farther in with the series, they could have done a whole lot with her.
That possibly, but I never really liked her as an actress.
Well, maybe that's because she never had an opportunity to let herself be a better actress. I don't know. We'll never know.
Hooray! I mean, oh.
But
so
what
sad.
about the overall story though?
I thought it was decent.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
another moral story.
yeah, but it just seemed to this one kind of drug out a lot.
Yeah.
It seemed to be a whole lot of not much going on.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like them saying, "Hey, we need to get these people," and Tar Monster says no, and it's back and forth for
Yeah.
45 minutes.
There's this one point where the Tar Monster actually swallows Riker,
Yeah,
just in an attempt to show people what he can do, and he just gives him back a bit later. It's like, okay, that didn't really mean anything.
right.
So it is a good story in terms of the lesson of not wanting to be alone, and not and being, separated from your kind like that is how it weighs on your heart. But other than that, it's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, and the planet is kind of TOS-ish too.
It is, yeah. They still haven't really updated the planets
Yeah.
much as far as landing parties are concerned.
Yeah. Um. The next episode is We'll Always Have Paris.
Yeah.
And this is not talking about the engineer for Voyager. This is talking about the actual city. Um, so, oh yeah, it starts off they're trying to go to shore leave.
Yeah.
And
Which, by the way, um, this crew is forever trying to get shore leave and
Yeah.
never can.
yeah, well, even when they think they're on shore leave, there's something always happening. Excuse me. Anyway, so they're on their way to shore leave. In the meantime, Picard is fencing with Lieutenant Dean, and in the middle of their fencing, they experience a time jump or whatever. They experience the same moment like a couple seconds later. So Picard calls back up to the bridge and says, "Hey, what's going on?" And they say that they experienced the same time jump. So he goes up to the bridge, and apparently they receive an automated distress call from Paul Mannheim, and Picard recognizes this name right away. And he tells them to go and follow the coordinates and go find it because last he knew, Paul Mannheim was dabbling in like time experiments. So it could very well have something to do with what they were experiencing. Meanwhile, I always want to call her Leia, but it's not Leia. Deanna. Meanwhile, Deanna.
One bun, not two.
Deanna goes up to him and says, "You know, Picard, I noticed that when you recognized Paul's name, you got a little emotional up there. So what? I mean, I don't want to get into your personal business, but if there are some emotional issues you need to work through, now would be a good time." So Picard thanks her, and but he doesn't, sit down for a session or anything. He's got to go change out of his fencing clothes, get into his new uniform or into a new uniform, and once he's in his uniform, he goes onto the onto the turbo lift and is about to go to the bridge when he thinks, you know what? No, I'm going to go to the holodeck, and there he recreates a cafe in Paris that he was at 22 years ago. Is that
Something like that, yeah.
and he while he's there, he remembers the time he was supposed to meet a certain woman at that table right over there, and he never showed. He likes to imagine that she showed, but he never did, because he was afraid or because of one reason or another. So after talking with one of these holodeck chicks, he's like, "No, forget this self-indulgence. I'm going back up to the bridge." So they arrive at where the coordinates, where the distress call said they should go, and they find another beacon telling them to go to another set of coordinates. So they go to this other place, and when they're there, they find a lab, Mannheim's lab, with a shield over it. And this woman, they hail them, and Picard says, "This is this is the captain of the Enterprise." And this woman answers and says, "Thank God you're here. can you please help us? And Picard says, there's a shield around you. You're going to have to shut that down, and then we can beam you aboard. So she does. They beam aboard.
He's pretty frantic about it too. He's like, "We
Yeah.
got two coming in, medical emergency. Beam them to sick bay.
Right,
Hey,
right.
you, come with me."
Right.
Pretty
and,
much.
And they beam him directly to sickbay. He goes and Paul Mannheim is in pretty bad shape. He's being looked after by Crusher, but Picard's not interested in Paul. Picard is interested in Janice. That's how you pronounce it, right? Janice. Do you remember?
I think so.
Anyway, Janice turns around and sees Picard, and she's like, Jean-Luc. And right away you can tell Dr. Crusher is like, oh man. She's got her claws out. And they get, Janice and Jean-Luc get reacquainted. And let's see. And in the meantime, Picard, Riker, and Data, they're just walking along, minding their own business, getting into the turbo lift, and they experience themselves walking into the turbo lift a couple of seconds later.
Yep.
The Mannheim effect, as they have called it now, is getting worse, or they're getting closer to it. Or whatever.
Right.
And so they decide that the best thing to do is to beam an away team down to the planet, so they can, do all this technical stuff, whatever. Doesn't matter. But later on, Data says, or Picard says, Data, I think I should send a team of just you, because Data can see time linearly, and like he can, get things done without having to worry about, our
He can get it.
perceptions of time.
He can do it purely scientifically without
Yeah.
worrying about the philosophical implications.
Exactly. But meanwhile, Picard has to deal with the fact that his old flame is back on the ship, and she actually goes to him, because obviously it would be inappropriate for him to go to her, and says, we have unfinished business, and I don't remember. Do you remember exactly what happened on the observation lounge when they were talking?
Not really. No, it was kind of a boring conversation anyway.
Yeah, basically they just have that conversation that you never really want to have.
Yeah, it's sort of like, what happened, and Picard starts spitting out excuses. She's like, seriously though,
Yeah,
what happened?
yeah,
And he's like, I chickened out. And she's like, yeah, that's fair. I'd say so. And she kind of started putting the guilt trip on him. It was like, hey, I waited all day. It's like, yeah, I figured you would. Yeah, you never showed up, right? Yeah, no, I know. I watched me do it.
yeah, yeah. So that had to be a little bit awkward,
Oh, yeah.
but it was necessary. In order for them to move on, it was necessary, I think. And then what's even more awkward is that Paul wakes up from his catatonic state
Yeah.
and asks Picard to come and talk to him. And
He's-
now he's got to face the husband of his old flame.
Yeah. And he walks in there, and he's like, how you doing? You're feeling okay? Blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking about everything else. He's like, I want to talk to you about Janice. And he's like, I didn't really come in here to talk to you about your wife. So can we just move this along? He's like, no. He's like, if something happens to me, I want you to take care of her. He's like, why? Why do I have to be that guy? I ran away once. He's like, no, you'll be fine. Deal with it. Suck it up.
Yeah. So apparently this guy, who was, by the way, messing around with alternate dimensions and stuff, he Yeah, well, he's not important now.
No.
Basically, Data beams down to the planet, goes into this lab, fends off these lasers that shoot at him because of security or whatever. Goes in through
The main entrance there.
but what were they?
I don't know. They
The
they look
poles,
like
whatever.
they look like
Fluorescent
fluorescent
light. Yeah,
lights.
he goes through. That's what I'm looking for. He goes through the fluorescent light door, and he picks up a bottle. Would you call it?
A container.
A container of antimatter,
Yeah.
and brings it over to this big.
Wibbly wobbly thing.
Yeah, that's accurate.
It's it's kind of wibbly wobbly and timey wimey. And
Yeah.
it's apparently this group of force fields that are supposed to be working together to contain the distortion field, the time distortion field.
Yeah.
And they're not working together properly. So Data's like, here's what I'll do. I'll take and put the antimatter in there, and then at a precise moment when the other me's show up, then I'll make sure it gets in there. It all gets in there
Right.
at the exact moment to realign the force fields and everything, go back to patch the hole, basically.
Well, he tells Jordy to, he tells, this is when it's going to happen. Please count down for me so I know when to dump it in. So that's what he does. And yeah, two other datas, total of three, show up like in the time stream. And they all come together. They dump the antimatter into the thing. And it's all safe. And
Hooray.
everything's good. Meanwhile, back on the ship, after everything is good, and Janice, finally sees her husband, and they're together again. Hooray!
Hooray.
After that, Deanna takes her to the holodeck where Picard has activated that program again, in Paris. And they have a little goodbye of their own, have a little champagne, and yeah. And I don't know if Picard was thinking maybe she'll reconsider now or what, but she's just like, okay,
Okay,
thanks,
we're done here. See you later. He's like, oh.
yeah.
It's sort of like, well, if you had shown up when you were supposed to, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah. So, bittersweet ending, but
Yeah.
Robert and Renee, they will carry on the family line.
Well, Jean-Luc isn't big on kids anyway.
So that was the end. That was all the episodes we watched. Into next week, we will be finishing season 1 with the episodes Conspiracy and The Neutral Zone, and then we'll go into the first episode of season 2, The Child.
Ooh.
Let's see. What else is there? For more content, you can go to our website, thegreenasterisk.com. We've got you can download my short story Dark Matter. You can go to our store, our YouTube channel, our Tumblr, and we have an app.
And you can download the app for Windows 8. If you
Yes.
go to the Windows 8 store and search for the Green Asterisk, you'll find it there. It'll let you watch recent videos from us. And it'll also let you keep up with Steve's tweets and posts on thegreenasterisk.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even find out all the ways to contact Steve.
Hooray!
Woo!
We didn't have any messages, but hailing frequencies are open.
At 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475. Dolphins are standing by.
Call us anytime, day or night, about anything, and we might even put you on the air.
For those of you who are listening to the audio, not watching the video on YouTube, I'm wearing the dolphin puppet from Archer because Archer season has started again finally.
Hooray!
10 months later.
Yeah.
And so it's Archer time. I gotta wear Pam's dolphin.
Hooray for Archer.
Hooray!
Let's see. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think we're gonna
Covered
all
that.
just go to bed now.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening live, the Officers Lounge is already posted,
Ooh,
edited, saved, and posted on the greenasterisk.com.
fancy.
That's right.
Awesome. So, until next time, remember to help control the tribal population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.